The original, the copy, the original, right there in the Grand Canyon, USA, America. Turtle Island, that's the original, right up there in the Grand Canyon. And that's why certain parts of the Grand Canyon are off limits. They don't want us knowing the truth. You've been lied to.
So let me get this right. You mean to tell me that ancient Egyptians could have already been here? That base on the Grand Canyon's a natural anomaly. There's no way the Egyptians were over here. How do you think they got over here?
Well, they probably built ships. But then again, how did you get over here? They could have already been over here. And look at the details of that natural anomaly.
Do you think the Egyptians or the Egyptian-like people were here? Because I've ran across some people who have found some Egyptian artifacts in Colorado and Idaho. The Egyptian belt you're talking about, there was one found in the mountains east of Provo. In Nevada, there was some found. And then, the stories of the Egyptians in the Grand Canyon. And then I have a friend that found some Egyptian hieroglyphs, along at Lake Powell, which would have been along the Colorado River. So it's interesting you'd say that. So you say there was...
Interesting thing that's kind of kept quiet is mummifying bodies was Egyptian. And they found a few scattered around the world, basically. The second largest place they found mummified bodies is in the old Utah Territory.
Really?
And they found them from the highest caves to clear down in New Mexico and stuff.
They were mummified?
And very few on this continent, yeah.
Really?
Mummified out of the old original Utah Territory.
Really?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Utah was an Egyptian. There's history on him.
Huh.
That was a man, but his name, and you've probably seen it, his name was spelled P-T-A-H. But the P was pronounced as a U. Utah.
Huh.
So I don't know what Brigham and them knew, but he knew this was the Utah Territory.
Huh.
And the Utah Territory is part of Wyoming, Nevada, clear down in
California,
Colorado.
Yeah.
Now, I think that was originally called Utah's territory. See, that day was up Turncrick, and Dad got in a talkative mood. Boy, we should have been older, because I was only 12 then. He said the Red Ledges was the biggest and longest worked mine, biggest, richest, and longest worked mine in this area. That was worked originally by the Egyptians.
Really?
He said the front of the Red Ledges, where you see all the ledges now, was just like the back of the Red Ledges till it caved in. So that was massive. He said it just sloped down in the front the same as it sloped in the back till it all caved in. And an earthquake.
So it's quite obvious that they didn't want to get this information out. The dinosaurs were probably the dragons and the monsters that you hear about in all the mythologies. The blonde-haired giants, they definitely didn't want nobody to know about that. And Egyptians.
Did you know that parts of the Grand Canyon belong to Native American tribes? While the National Park Service manages most of the Grand Canyon as a national park, there are agreements and collaborative efforts with the tribes to protect and preserve the cultural heritage of the region.
The truth about the Grand Canyon and Indians.
Yes, the truth about the Grand Canyon and American Indians. Now, it's a lot of Pan-Africans and a lot of Native Americans. They seem to be working together. But every time I point out this video, I got 2 videos to show this clip. And both of them did pretty good. But it's deep-rooted in black folks in America that tribes over here didn't look like this. That they looked like the Native Americans that you see in cartoons and on movies. There's no way possible they're going to let themselves believe or let themselves even research whether tribes in America look like this. And so let's go to Google and let's see what Google say. You ready? Here we go. I asked Google, are there still tribes in the Grand Canyon to this day? Let's see.
Here's a summary from National Park Service. Havasupai Tribe
Woo!
as Hualapai
Yep.
Tribe as Kaita Band of Paiute Indians as
Got y'all again.
Band of Paiute Indians NV, Moapa Band of Paiute Indians NV, Navajo Nation as more.
Proving my point once again. So, it's still in the Grand Canyon to this day. Why come they couldn't look like these melanated brothers and sisters right here? Because they want you to think anytime you see this tribal dress, tribal clothing, tribal weapons and everything, they want you to think that it's in Africa. That's the biggest lie in the world. Our people are Choctaws, our Chickasaws, our Washitas, okay? Our Toledos, our Miamis, our Shawnees, our Iroquois, okay? They look like this. They look like this. That's why I was trying to remind y'all that a lot of tribes in Africa was actually taken out of America, sent over to Africa to create a disconnect between us and them. Okay? This wizard, this white wizard, these are Americans, man.
Amulet was brass, apparently, and it was found near Cincinnati. And where I actually think that it might have been trade routes, because there was some stones that have been found in various parts of the world that are from specifically Ohio, because it's like a rainbow shale that was used in like arrowheads and stuff a long time ago. Like that area was used to make weapons like the first 12,000 years ago when the first people were kind of in North America. But that area in Ohio also is known as the sandstone capital of the world, and I don't know if that's related to the Egyptians, because that's what the pyramids are made out of, you know. There's tons of sandstone that is very specific to that region.
Yeah. So, pyramids made out of sandstone?
I thought so. Yeah, there's 21, from 1800 to 1980, 21 times the amount of sandstone that made the Great Pyramid was shipped out of Ohio to make various buildings all over the world.
Ohio is the Holy Land Part 8.
The Jet Experience.
Right. The thing I found about the Egyptians in Ohio was actually from a paper that was written. It's postulating, and I guess they took a lot of the evidence that they had been finding and saying this shows that there might have actually been Egyptians there.
It was from 1937?
That's when the guy was, I think, born. This is 40 years ago.
Oh,
so
wow.
That amulet was brass, apparently, and it was found near Cincinnati. And where I actually think that it might have been trade routes, because there was some stones that have been found in various parts of the world that are from specifically Ohio, because it's like a rainbow shale that was used in like arrowheads and stuff a long time ago. That area was used to make weapons like the first 12,000 years ago when the first people were kind of in North America. But that area in Ohio also is known as the sandstone capital of the world, and I don't know if that's related to the Egyptians, because that's what the pyramids are made out of, you know. There's tons of sandstone that is very specific to that region.
Yeah.
So,
pyramids made out of sandstone?
I thought so. Yeah. There's 21, from 1800 to 1980, 21 times the amount of sandstone that made the Great Pyramid was shipped out of Ohio to make various buildings all over the world.
Really?
Most of them, you know.
I told y'all Egypt is America. Egypt is Ohio. Go watch the rest of the...
Wake the fuck up.
Matt, bro.
Wake up.
Yo, peep, Old Testament map of ancient America. Hold up. Alright, so peep, right? I had zoomed in.
Wake up. Wake up.
So what if this what it really was, bro? And if anything, right? This would really make sense. You wanna know why? Because what's in this area? Washington, D.C. Oh my God!
Indigenous tribes in Utah wearing American clothing.
What if I told you that the largest concentration in the world of ceremonial earthworks was in southern Ohio? Would you go? Let's get into it. Hey y'all, I'm Raymond. Now where was I? Oh yeah, Hopewell Culture National Historical Park. Pictured here is the Mound City group of the Hopewell. Now there are 5 more sites in this area managed by the Park Service. This concentration of ancient structures in this area is yet to be rivaled anywhere else on Earth. For example, here's one I found next to a fast food parking lot. The name Hopewell dates back to 1891 to an Ohio farmer named Mordecai Hopewell who allowed archaeologists to excavate mounds on his property. We know through the archaeological record that this culture thrived here from about 1600 to 2000 years ago. They built hundreds of mounds in this area, and the city group got its name because of its dense concentration, 24 mounds in a 13-acre stretch. When you visit, you learn that the mounds and earthworks are just part of how we know this culture was thriving. We continue to find evidence of their materials and influence as far south as the Gulf of Mexico, north into Canada, and from the Atlantic to the Rockies. Sheets of the mineral mica, apparently mined as far away as the mountains of present-day North Carolina, were used here. Quartz spearheads, copper objects, obsidian from 1,400 miles away in Yellowstone all paint a picture of an amazing trade network and a well-traveled culture. In part 2, I'll cover the World War I training camp, Camp Sherman, that destroyed half of the mounds and earthworks, so let's learn from it, people.
Slaves were brought over to America from Africa starts to become questionable. It wasn't until the 1812 period that the plan to rewrite history of America began through the Jesuit empires of Spain, Britain, and France. They have you believe that black peoples, by the millions, were shipped from Africa to America. Yet, if that were so, we would see well-preserved slave ships. But few are to be found, and their genuineness are to be questioned after learning about this secret history. This name, African American, was offered many times and always rejected by the natives to these lands. Why are we fed this lie of Africa? It is to attach the identity of the native peoples of ancient America with a faraway land so that they may be enslaved mentally. Many natives of both North and South America were home to many indigenous black peoples, such as in New York, and Mexico, Wisconsin, and San Francisco, Southern California. They were in Mississippi and in Oklahoma. This is a depiction of a black native from Terra Fire, or like we have mentioned earlier, Terra Firma, throughout South America. The Caribbean islands were home to the native black peoples. Black people have been on this land far before Christopher Columbus ever stepped foot.
What's understood doesn't have to be explained.
Real quick. So basically what we have here is a CDC race and ethnicity code set. So CDC, Center for Disease Control. Hope that's right. Anyways, man, so let's jump right into it. Like the system that we're in, like they put stuff right in your face, like, but of course they hide it, right? You have to go find it. So what we have here is all these racial categories, right? So of course you see American Indian, Alaska Native American Indian, Abenaki, Algonquin. Like I know you're familiar with seeing that term, but I'm gonna keep scrolling down. So these are all indigenous tribes, indigenous nations that were here prior to pre-Columbian contact. And I just want to scroll down. You saw Choctaw, Chickasaw, all terms that we're familiar with, but I want to scroll down before time runs out. Where is it? Right there, boom, more, sitting right there.
Ou pas qu'on côté sorti, l'irait avec vous toute la nuit. Ou pas qu'on a sous temps de Libyen, l'irait avec vous dans la nuit et le matin venu. Ou attendez yo dit et ou à chanter toute la journée. Zai, ay, ay, Zai, ay, Yeah, yeah. That's what the Jumbies say. That's what the Jumbies say. Zay, that's what the Jumbies say.
Haïti chérie. Menou, 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 menou. Haïti troubadour. Ça c'est qui n'entendait.
The black Indians in the United States were not killed off. They were either enslaved or they were called colored people. They were either enslaved or they were called colored people. That most of the black Indians in the United States were not killed off. They were either enslaved or they were called colored people.
They were already here.
Now this is scary. In 1909, an archaeologist named Kim Cate and his companion should stumbled upon a stone-carved staircase deep in the Grand Canyon. As they ascended, they discovered a vast cave complex. The cave appeared untouched for centuries. In the first chamber, there should stood a massive Buddha statue. As they continued to explore the cave, they found a perfectly crafted marble staircase. Kim immediately knew they were onto something significant. So they notified a major museum in Washington. They sent numerous archaeologists, along with Cate, to the same location. As they ventured deeper into the cave, they discovered a room filled with Egyptian hieroglyphs, which was quite strange, as the Egyptians had never discovered America. But here's the climax. When they entered another chamber, they claimed to have found giant mummified skeletons, much larger than humans. Cate believed he had made the discovery of his life. However, when he returned home, everyone should act as if they hadn't found anything. And it's rumored that the museum, in collaboration with the U.S. government, sealed and replaced what they had found. This leaves me wondering what else we might not know. The story cannot be confirmed, but it must originate from somewhere.
Native American tribes who lived in the Grand Canyon for thousands of years say that the Grand Canyon is the first place that beings from inner Earth set up civilization on the surface world, and it is an ancient subterranean civilization. Researchers have found over 1,000 caves in the Grand Canyon, but only a little over 300 have actually been officially recorded, and very little have actually been mapped, and exploring the underworld of the Grand Canyon is illegal. The only cave open to the public is called the Cave of Domes, and even the most respected scientists have been rejected for further exploration. Getting permission is almost impossible, and the Grand Canyon is one of the most secretive national parks on the planet. The first incident of secrecy dates back to the year 1908, when an abandoned underground city was discovered by G.E. Kincaid and then confirmed by a Smithsonian archaeologist, S.A. Jordan, both in which seemingly vanished after the discovery was reported back to the Smithsonian Institute, who were their employers as well. John Wesley Powell was said to be the first to explore the mysterious Grand Canyon back in 1896 with 10 men, and it was said to be a dangerous journey because only 7 of them survived. Fast forward to March 12, 1909, the Arizona Gazette published an article with Kincaid's finding and his incredible voyage, mainly hinting towards the discoveries and how the exploration would continue at a later date. Less than a month later, the Gazette published another article on exactly how incredible the findings were, and they said, quote, "It is one of the oldest discoveries in the United States and the entirety of the world," end quote. And to me, this is because this is what the Hopi said that the first beings on the planet originated from. Now, Kincaid warned of the dangers of the land and exploring these areas of the Grand Canyon. He pretty much said it wouldn't be recommended unless you were an expert survivalist. Now, we'll talk about the El Tovar Crystal Canyon, in which a Spanish explorer by the name of Pedro Tovar called the Grand Canyon in the 16th century, when he led a troop of conquistadors on a large-scale expedition through the southwest region of North America. And this was to locate a legendary 7 cities of Cibola and conquer them like the heartless savage that he was. Now, in the Aztec stories, Cibola is spoken of 7 ancient hidden cities, which are utopias, with enormous wealth operating under the universal law of oneness, where a beautiful city with gold temples actually exists. Luckily, Pedro Tovar failed to find any of the 7 cities. He was the first European to be enlightened on the Grand Canyon from the native people, and in the later years of 1905, a luxury resort was opened on the Grand Canyon named after Pedro Tovar. It was actually built 20 feet away from the south edge of the Grand Canyon. Now, the statue of an underworld god was also discovered in the Grand Canyon, and its facial features were said to be Oriental. What we know from these findings are that these ancient beings didn't feed into racism, and they left traces of their coexistence behind. The statue is said to be Tibetan. It's ironic, in recent pictures of the Antarctica exploration, it shows statues in which Tibetan males are depicted, and they're both in mysterious places where pyramids have been found as well. We know that the Egyptians also had tales of the underworld, whose ruler was Osiris, and the Atlantean priest King Thoth talked about inner earth and places called the halls of Amenti and Arulu. He also talked about the sacred flame, which is the heart of earth, being deep in the halls of Amenti, and how the flame changed directions once the Draco reptilians infiltrated the Atlanteans and the Lumerians and started opening stargates, which threatened to destroy Earth by knocking it into the vast darkness. So Atlantis had to sink so the portal could close. Now, the Hopi Indians describe the creation myth as their ancestors once living in inner earth beneath the Grand Canyon, and it is said that the sun spirit Toa formed 4 worlds on earth. Each world was imperfect in many ways, and it was miserable for the people, so Toa set to fix things. The first world was for the insect-like beings who lived deep underground. These would be the insectoids, and they hated it. So Toa sent a demigod called Spider Grandma to make their wishes come true. So she led the insectoids to Toa's second world, another underground realm. During this journey, the first world was destroyed by Toa with a great fire. Now, the insectoids who moved to the second world, they went through a metamorphosis process, and they were eventually transformed into bear and wolf-like creatures. This still wasn't enough for the newly transformed beings, so Toa started working on a third world. So the second world he destroyed with an ice age. By the time the beings reached the third world, they were transformed into humans, and they were pleased, and their ancestors and Spider Grandma remained in the subterranean world. Now, the newly humans eventually found dark arts and the knowledge of war, so evil began to arise, and the third world was split into warring factions. So Spider Grandma appeared to the humans who operated under the law of oneness and convinced them to leave the third world and to never return. Toa created a fourth world for them, and this world was on Earth's surface, but the surface was closed off to the inner Earth beings. So Spider Grandma released powerful magic known as earthbending, where she erected a giant bamboo stalk to grow from the ground and penetrate Earth's crust, which is why bamboo grows native in America. It's just not called bamboo in America. Now, the inner earth beings began to scale the giant bamboo stalk until they emerged on the surface of the Grand Canyon, where a new civilization was established. Now, it is said that the evil Hopi ancestors are still locked in the inner earth, and the third world was destroyed by Toa, which was caused by a great flood. Now, this aligns with flood stories around the entirety of the world. It's almost as if a pantheon of gods came up with a unified decision on flooding Earth.
So y'all mean to tell me Africa is 1,052 miles?
So this is not the first time I've seen a video dealing with this. I need somebody to explain. This does not make sense to me. I looked at the map. I don't know what I'm missing. It does not make sense to me at all. I'm literally sitting and I'm like, this is crazy. So I see more and more of these come up on here, and it's driving me crazy, talking about, the path to Africa through the Grand Canyon. There's a road down the middle of Grand Canyon that leads you straight to Africa. And there's things found in the Grand Canyon that deal with African culture. Explain. I'm serious. Explain. I would love to know how this is possible.
The Grand Canyon is a portal.
Shit, the Grand Canyon, bro. That shit.
There's a whole civilization living under here.
There was a theory circulated not too long ago that said that there was a path in the Grand Canyon that will take you all the way to Africa. But now people are starting to add to this theory and take it even further. The added theory claims that the Americas, which is North and South America, is connected to or is ancient Egypt. But this was covered up to throw people off of biblical prophecy and historical events. While this theory sounds wild, I find it very interesting that in 1909, an article released called Explorations in the Grand Canyon that talks about finding Egyptian artifacts within it. There was also certain substances and materials from North and South America found in ancient Egyptian tombs next to mummies. The theory goes on to say that the Mississippi River is actually the ancient Egyptian Nile River, and that they put all of this in plain sight by building modern day pyramids in places like Memphis and Vegas, and also by putting pyramids on the back of the dollar bill. Now this theory could definitely be a stretch, but leave a like if you want me to talk a little more about this, and let me know what you think in the comments.
We must talk about this ASAP. There's been a massive amount of conspiracy talk about the Grand Canyon being the actual path to Africa. And what's crazy is, I just took a trip to Las Vegas. Y'all see, I haven't even been on the app. When we flew over the Grand Canyon, I had the same exact thought. Then I got on TikTok and I seen this.
These might be the
First you had Pangea. Now if you zoom in on the map, you see the United States, right? And then you see Africa right next to it. North America, Africa. This goes right along with me and my brother's Ronspiracy's theory that all the Area 51s across the globe were connected in Pangea, and when we separated, those portals allow everything to connect between us and the Earth and dimensional travel. Like the Grand Canyon, pyramids in Egypt, Stonehenge, I mean all these places with these unique locations and meanings. It's looking like the Grand Canyon just may be part of that. Conspiracy starts to get really interesting. So the Grand Canyon has 6 no-fly zones. And also you have parts of the canyon which you can't explore without executive supervision. I think this may be because they're hiding ancient history. 1909, G.E. Kincaid went on a grand exploration through the Colorado River, where he came across and discovered caves such as the one behind me. They're not natural caves, they were hard-carved caves. Carr said that this cave alone contained mummies, hieroglyphic writings all throughout the caves, war weapons, and copper instruments that were sharp as steel. Craziest thing about it is that he said these caves could hold up to 50,000 people. So you can only imagine how advanced this cave actually was, especially for the time period he discovered it in 1909. But hey, it just might be a coincidence or just a conspiracy or something. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments about the Grand Canyon.
What's your race? Native. What? Native. Native? Okay, cool. All right. What? Like, are we sure, or is it like, are you native like he's native? You know? I have a card. You have a card? Yes. I would love to see. Well, hold on. Let me see your native card, all right? Because he's got his GMC card or whatever the fuck it is. No, man, please, let me see it. Come here. I want to see your card. Hold on. You have a native card? Yeah. Get yours ready, too, fucking steroid. Holy fuck. They give you like a card when you have one? Why didn't I get mine in the mail? Holy shit. Seminole Nation. What do you do with it? Like, where do you use it at? Like casinos, do you get 20% off of that? This is sick as fuck. I've never seen this. That's cool. So I'm gonna. Dude, I'm not. Y'all want to go play roulette? Let's go. Nah, here you go. You're Seminole Nation and shit. That's cool, man. You're like real Seminole. That's awesome. What percentage of you is a Seminole? How much is it?
About 25.
About 25? And they give you a card at 25? Fuck, dude. Yeah, are the rest of y'all native too? Let me guess, sir. You're native as well? What do you pull out? An Applebee's gift card? You're like, right here? 2 for 20. So hold on. What's the percentage when you get a card from being a native? You only have to be a little bit, but I think I think I'm a little bit though. Did you like call in, or was it like a thing?
You have to be over a quarter.
You have to be over a quarter. Hold on, ma'am. The white person speaking. Shut your fucking mouth. So. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
You sure about that? You sure about that? You sure about that?
I want to show you this image just called the Cacique Cangapol of Huechin and his wife. It was the Amaru Khans. Alright. And this is from, it says it's a portrait of Native American man and woman, includes the source creator of this is Samuel Ho, Will Coakley. Source title, History of the Viceroyalty of Buenos Aires. That's in Argentina. This is American Indians from Buenos Aires, Argentina. Come on, look at that. Did you know that's what the Argentinians look like, the original? Take a look. Does this look familiar, like any of your family members? And this is from 1807, all right? 1807. Again, the Cacique Canga Pol of Huechin and his wife. All right, so now we're in this book by Bernardino de Sahagún, or the Fray, or the Father. He was here during the conquest in Mexico, very famous primary source.
No. So I completely understand. You're looking at this dude and you're probably thinking, oh yeah, he has the Olmec features. Well, when you do deeper research into it, you find out that when the Spanish moved in, not only did they rape the people, but they depopulated the people, and they also took on the identity of those people. You know, these dread-headed, brown-skinned people who were documented to be here on multiple occasions. Now, if they said that this was the original South American Indians, and this is how the ancient people of America displayed themselves, cornrows, head wraps, and afro-ish hair, you should really try to read a book before you start clout chasing.
White people are rotten, and black people are just like them, because you've made them just exactly like you. They walk like you, they talk like you, everything they do is like you. They want to be you so much. They love your woman more than you do. They know your mind better than you. They wear your clothes. They've even learned to wear your shoes. You take them out of the jungle, and you want to make them into a man. Why couldn't they be left to be God? Why you want to make them into a man? In the jungle, they were God. Africans are smart, aren't they? Over here, everybody thinks them old black people are just dumb old colored folks. But they're not dumb old colored folks. They're very smart. They're very aware. And their capacity for fear is 3 times what yours is.
If y'all haven't heard Charles Manson, he said that. He said, why didn't you leave him in the jungle? He said, in the jungle, they were God. He knew.
You want to turn him into a man.
Charles Manson straight up said, I hate black people more than white people because black people act like white people. That's straight. What kind of white man you dealing with for real? Bruh. They said lock him up. Bruh. Pretend to be us. Why would you lessen yourself? He was more prideful about black people than we are at times. That white man knew the truth. They said lock him up for sure. Lock him up right now.
Spend some time away
see all these copper pennies? You see them? After a while, copper gets really dark.
Herman Jessen, the Amazon trader, makes his way up the Moroni River, aided by friendly natives.
So now I want to show you this video I saw on YouTube from the indigenous South American Bushman Indians, it says, from Guyana. This is rare 1950s footage. You can see, you will see copper-colored tribes there.
And now, here's the man you saw on the film earlier, Mr. Herman Jessen. We're proud to have you with us, Mr. Jessen.
Thank you, John.
I'd like to ask, first of all, sir, how remote are these Indians from civilization?
These Indians live about 250 miles up the Moroni River. It's very hard to get up there because the rains endanger any trip, and the river is either too low or too high. It's just in July that one can penetrate into those villages.
Oh, is this your first trip into this area?
No, into this area it's my second trip, but I've made 25 trips into South America so far, and I expect to leave very shortly on another one.
Well, we're all anxious to see what being an Amazon trader really means, so let's start now.
Alright, so he basically starts talking, describing what he's doing in this footage. This is, I guess, some natives, some local Native Americans that joined him on this expedition to the interior of the Amazon. He says, he tells the person that's interviewing him that he travels for about 2 months and a total of 500 miles in. 500 miles in. And you can see all the footage he's getting. This is a native boy. There it says, one of the Bushman's son. This is one of the chiefs. He said he's being introduced. This is one of the chiefs that actually wore traded clothes with the white guy, and they you know, he dressed like the chief as well. These are you know, more natives in these towns he's encountering along the river, as you can see. You know, very much so you would think you were looking at you know, footage from Africa, but this is in French Guiana, in Guyana, right, in South America. And you know, if we look at the tobacco, the old tobacco images of the Indians, right, with their feathers, you know, copper-colored bodies, you know, it's the same as we see here, you know. So again, he traveled, you know, through all this land, well, river, 500 miles in, and you know, he encountered, I guess, a lot. It was like an adventure for him, right? Indiana Jones. But as you can see the footage, these are so-called Negroes, right? And you know, they can always tell us that these are Africans that mixed when they were escaped and maroons and stuff. But we've seen in video 1, video 2, we've seen the scientific anthropology to show that the oldest bones found here were of Negro descent. They had Negro features and resemble a lot of the Australian Aborigines and South Pacific Asians or Malays, right? And you can see them doing their dance here. They do the foot. Almost a lot of Native American tribes in the north, you know, dance with their feet as well. They stomp their feet. And the guy, when he's explaining this part, he's saying that it sounds like merengue, cha-cha-cha, like a merengue cha-cha-cha, where they're dancing, where they're singing and drumming. According to him, you know, this is his account from the interview. I took the audio off because it had background music. I didn't want to get a copyright strike or the video taken down. But you can find the YouTube down in the links, video originals. You can hear what he's saying. He's gonna mention a lot of Africanized, and they sound so African and so African because that's all he knows, right, from his history. But as you can see, they're encountering different colored tribes along these rivers. So you can see this one has this tribe has longer hair. They let the hair grow, but they're copper colored, almost the same as the other natives that are with him. Basically almost the same skin. And this is more of them in their river, more villages they're encountering, all copper colored people, you know, as you can see here. And chopping wood, he's saying how strong they are, how well fit they are, how they're like very natural people. They're very healthy. They, you know, he says they don't steal. They're very good people. They treated him like royalty when he was in their towns. They're over here fishing in this river. He says you gotta be careful because there's piranhas. As you can see, they're fishing with their harpoons and everything. And so this is, I guess, when they're almost back after the journey. He says they're unloading all the stuff they got and traded with. I guess he's gonna bring it back to Europe, where he's from. So as you can see, copper-colored tribes in South America. You know, we gotta dodge the hijacks. You know, Aboriginals, the true Aboriginals, were copper-colored in America. All right. So I'm gonna end.
Le soir, le wapi dormi, ou cap tonde, zombi santé, ou pas qu'on côté sorti, l'irait avec vous toute la nuit, ou pas qu'on a sous temps de Libyen.
Entire cities are being found in the Guatemalan jungle as we speak. This is the area right here where you call it the Yucatan and the border of Guatemala, the Petén region, they call it. All this unexplored area, and under all this jungle, see where they got the highlighted parts as the only parts where they've done the LiDAR scanning. They still haven't explored the other parts, as this is what they're finding. You see what's under here, you see all these structures, right? Guatemala, roads, highways, connecting all these cities under this vast jungle. You see pyramids, monuments. Look how they play with their technology. They're so happy. Alright, you see what they're finding under these jungles. 60,000 structures, approximately. Alright, millions and millions of people were in this region of the world.
I want to show you some things that I don't think you even knew existed. It goes against everything Manifest Destiny teaches about Native Americans. And I want you to know this part of our history because people erased it, and we'll get to that later on in the program. Erased it intentionally. Right. Erased it intentionally. That's an important part of it. America's history didn't begin with Christopher Columbus came over. There were ancient cities with advanced architectures all across North America. Did you know that? Hundreds of years before Columbus came. Let's think, oh, the Indians, they didn't scar the land. No, not true. These were cities as large as any in the world at the time. London or Rome, they were metropolises. Archaeologists say they have found evidence of 200,000 actual cities of mound-like structures all across North America that were here long before Columbus. But we don't know anything about them. Why? Why?
For more than 50 years, evidence of humans in America much older than 13,400 years ago was simply dismissed, and anybody who attempted to go that way would not get research funding and would be ostracized by their colleagues and literally have their lives ruined. And this is most unfortunate, and it's not how science should proceed, because we now know that human beings have been in the Americas for tens of thousands of years before 13,400 years ago. In fact, the latest evidence puts them back more than 130,000 years in the Americas. And what that says to me is, if they were saying before that humans didn't come until 13,400 years ago and nobody should look, nobody should dig deeper, now we know they were there 130,000 years ago. That's more than 100,000 years of the American story that has not been told entirely because of the dogmatism of archaeology. And now reluctantly they're having to accept, all of the institutions are accepting, well, we're sorry, we got it wrong. But it's not just a matter of getting it wrong. It's a grave responsibility to be the profession that interprets the prehistory of humanity to the modern world. And it's a betrayal of that responsibility to be so dogmatic and to refuse to consider any possibility which doesn't fit with one's preconceived notions. And, you know, the net result is that we're left with 100,000 years of North American prehistory, which has been completely unstudied, and they're only now beginning to study it. And the evidence that's coming out, both in North America and